Okay, the fourth step that we work with people on to get them all the way through their wealth generation cycle. So, life insurance agents, agency owners, how do you get to eight figures and how do you keep your money as well? What we began to understand was on the earlier stages where a life insurance agent is just beginning to learn how to sell, they're primarily focusing on selling just enough insurance to feed their family, to take care of themselves. Then, after about 2 to 3 years, the top 5% that really figured it out, that make it, that put in the consistency, put in the work, their sales pitches get better, they overcome the objections, then they begin to make a lot of money, right? So, personal story, one of my early mentors, she was phenomenal. Her husband would write $1 million with his one pen by himself, and then she would run an agency that would also do more than $1 million at an agency level thing. Now, they had chargebacks and they had other things that they dealt with, which, was complicated for them. But the biggest thing was I sit down, we went to this amazing conference and we sit down and I'm like, okay, cool. Y'all made $2 million. How much money are you going to keep of that $2 million? And she's like, none of it. Like, we're struggling to get by. And I'm like, how the fuck is that even possible? And she walked me through how it was possible. And I asked her, had anybody set up a proper structure for them? And she said no. So, what I'm going to do now is briefly do an overview of what it would look like for an insurance agent to take this seriously and to be thinking about an exit strategy in your first year as an agency, right? So, what we do is educate and teach how to build a trust where the trust is really the owner for your whole family, right? For all the people that you care about, that you love, and that you're gonna give generational wealth to those people, right? So this is really about like giving them generational wealth. How that works is you're going to either by yourself or we'll help you focus on building out a trust, and the trust with inside of the trust is a holding company in an anonymous state. The reason it needs to be in an anonymous state is because Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming allow you to file for a holding company or any company anonymously. 80% of businesses that make millions of dollars and billions of dollars and now trillions of dollars, they go build their holding companies in Delaware to protect them from lawsuits. Some go to Delaware, some go to Nevada, some go to Wyoming, but it's basically one of those three places. There might be more at the time of this video, but at one point it was those major three. Delaware holds about 80% of company creation because of how strong their asset protection and their lawsuit protection is over there in Delaware, right? Wyoming has no state tax inside of Wyoming. So I began to see a lot of people put their holding companies in Wyoming because it's anonymous and there's no taxes. So it's like a win-win in that set. Well, this holding company is created by a manager. It's very important that you get these words correctly, right? There's two choices basically. There's a manager that manages the company, but there's a member who is the member of the company. And what we want to focus on is building a manager. And you can put Ronald McDonald is the manager of that company, um, because as soon as you're ready to, you're going to remove the starting manager off of the company and leave it blank or replace it, right? So there's legally, you don't have to keep a manager on file. You just have to have a starting manager. So we start with a manager service that we pay as a registered agent to register the company on our behalf. And that registered agent registers as the founding manager. It doesn't mean they own the company. It just means they manage the company. This is extremely important to get that step right because if you get it wrong, you can never go back and fix it. Okay, so what we do is create this manager, and that manager is able to receive a salary. They're able to get paid out of managing the holding company. The holding company does not make any money by itself. It has nothing. It makes no money at all. The only thing it does is hold money on behalf of other companies. I hope that makes sense. Maybe I can say it a second time a little bit different. This will always make zero money. Let's just be very specific and say that this is in Nevada, right? So your holding company was created in Nevada. It was created anonymously by a manager, and then we remove that manager off the file and replace it with a different manager or leave it blank. There's no current manager currently. So this holding company will never sell life insurance, and it will never be responsible for producing or making any money at all. Only thing it'll do is it'll hold money together. However, the holding company needs to make money to put inside of the holding company. And step one, it's the holding company is going to be the member. That member creates a LLC insurance agency. So before you make $50,000, you can probably get away with doing an LLC. After $50,000, it's actually better tax wise to convert it over to an S Corp. It's an easy piece of paper that you file to go from a single member LLC over to an S Corp. But again, I would only do that after you've cleared $50,000 of taxable income. Okay, so this now becomes we're going to assume that you've made $100,000 and that you're going to have an S Corp. Well, the S Corp belongs to the holding company. So all of the S Corp's money can be sent up to Nevada, and that is holding all the money. So the S Corp doesn't even have any money. Now they made $100,000, but they didn't keep the money there. They had to give it back to the holding company that started them. I hope that makes sense. The S Corp makes the money, but belongs to the holding company. So they give the money back to the holding company that started their S Corp. So this is where you begin learning your taxable deductions and your taxable expenses statewide, right? Because let's say that you're in Florida, you're in Texas, you're in Virginia, some of the big Alabama, some of the big insurance company are in that area. So let's just say Texas, and you made $100,000 in Texas, and Texas is going to want to tax you, but also because you're a 1099 contract, you're going to have to pay self-employment 1099 taxes on that. unless you work directly for the S Corp. So when you do that, there's a dividend structure where any monies left in here gets paid off and split into dividends or salary. And then everything else is taxed. So what we focus on is now you want to start putting your car as a business write-off. You want to start putting your office as a business write-off. All your travel meetings is now business write-off. All the clothes that you have to buy for your business is a business write-off. To get your hair and nails done, to get your shoes, your belt, your watch, your tie, whatever it is that you do is now a business expense that has to get off of your $100,000 a year taxes. And what you realize is you probably blow through $75,000 in expenses every year between business meetings, business food, business travel, um, business vehicles, business transportation, business clothing, business grooming, etc. Right? So you go through that money, and then all that's left over is $25,000. Right? So even though you made $100,000, because it was business expenses, you start writing it off. Well, additionally, all of your advertisement money is an advertisement expense that is like a tax write-off for advertisement and marketing. So you begin writing all of these taxable expenses off. Now you enjoyed the privilege of using them through the S corp, but you didn't pay taxes up front and then get to keep whatever money's left over. You spent all the money up front and then you paid little taxes on what's left. Well, that begins our second phase is once you've made enough money where you've spent all the money you want for the year and you still have extra money left in the account, the holding company is going to create a Series LLC real estate. And the real estate is going to buy either additional residential homes as a business office. So you're going to expand your business by buying more real estate. This will eventually become a rental property. Or if you structure it strong enough, you can go get commercial real estate with multiple suites in there, and you can write off your profit as the down payment to make the purchase. So let's say that you get into $200,000 in profit, and you're gonna get taxed on $150,000 now, right? You were able to write off 50,000 in losses, and you're gonna get taxed on 150. Well, if you take the $150,000 and you think about it as a 20% down payment. So if you've got here's the math. If you've got a $1 million property and you pay 20% down, you'll have to come up with about $200,000 of a down payment to get into the contract. So if you've got a $750,000 property and you pay the 20% down, it's right at $150,000. So what you're able to do now is go buy a $750,000 property, right? You're able to put a loan on the $750,000. Now, you're only going to take the $150,000 profit from the S corp, give that money to the holding company. The holding company is going to fund this LLC, and this LLC is going to pay the 150 down and put this real estate inside of the holding company as a new asset. Okay, So now you have a house inside of here or a commercial property inside of here. You can get some commercial properties, you can get like a fiveplex or a sixplex for about $750,000, right? So if you think about it, at 750 and you can get a sixplex for that, you're paying about 125 a door, and that's going to be your depreciation that you're able to write off. So if you got 750 and you're going to divide that out by about 27.5 years, you're able to write off about $27,000 of income every year. So when this property claims depreciation, you can start writing that money off. And that's going to lower the taxes that would need to get paid. So all of this is happening inside of the holding company that you manage, and the holding company is protected by this umbrella of a trust. So you get ready to exit, and you've now built your insurance agency. You've got, let's say that you've got 150 agents, and every one of those agents is doing about $60,000 a year. So you're moving about $9 million annual premium. Now, you're not going to touch all of that. That's their money, but you're going to touch the override. And let's just say that your override is about 15%. I know that it's more than that, but the S Corp is now generating about $1.3 million a year, and it has to go buy about $1 million worth of real estate every single year. It has to start buying this $1 million worth of real estate. So over 10 years, you're essentially buying about $10 million worth of real estate. And then there's a whole strategy about how to do a cash out refinance in a commercial real estate industry, where you can leverage it and scale and get bigger and bigger. Now, what we focus on teaching people is you want to buy commercial offices and put the insurance agents inside of that office for you, right? So you can either write off the rent as a loss that the company paid the rent on behalf of your staff, or you can bill them a small half, 50%, and collect 50% worth of rent and write off the other half. Or you can bill them at market rate and have your agency owners use the property, benefit from the community inside of that property to make even more volume and even more sales. And then they're paying for the mortgage, the interest on it, the insurance, and the taxes, right? So you can turn around and bill that out to them at the downline level to do it. So there's multiple ways to write off this $1.3 million, and all of them have their net advantages and disadvantages. But that's how you would do it. So when we get with you on the fourth aspect to getting generational wealth within your insurance career, we're going to be focusing on, as a refresher, free organic lead generation to get your sales closing rate up. Once your closing rate's at 30%, then we're going to move you over past the sales coaching into paid ads. Paid ads is going to get you over the $500,000 a year mark. where you're going to make profit $500,000, but you don't have a team. And before you build a team, you want to build this very, very specific structure because you want to have this in place for your wife, your kids, your husband, kids, whoever. You want to have this in place before you have the problems and the responsibilities of creating your downline and building your agency. Okay, so you want this infrastructure in place ahead of time to get there. And then after you get this there, the very next video that we're going to focus on is the recruiting and the onboarding. So I hope that makes sense. And let me know if you need any help or have any questions.